everyone. This is Lucas Ross Sports. Lucas Ross, your commentator. We continue our 2022 college football predictions. The Texas Tech Red Raiders are up next. I'll give you my thoughts on this team, give you my official prediction for this team, and go through their schedule, and I will go from there. But before we do that, let's look back at 2021 for this Texas Tech team. Looking back at 2021 for this Texas Tech team, they went 7-6 overall last year. Not a bad season. It was an up-and-down season for them last year, but I think they have what it takes to maybe compete in the Big 12 this year. There's just a lot of question marks, though, on the offensive side of the ball and defensively a little bit there. Let's take a look at the offense and defensive rankings for this Texas Tech team last year. 50th on offense, not a bad offense last year. The bad news is they lose quite a lot on that offensive side of the ball this year. They were 95th on defense last year, so I mean, overall, bad number there on the defensive side of the ball, but I think this defense should be better, than last year's team. So I mean, I'm expecting Texas Tech to be a better defensive team. And then there's the points per game and opponents per game. Pretty similar numbers, 30.3 points on the offensive side of the ball, and then 30.2 points on the defensive side of the ball. So those are interesting numbers there for Texas Tech. My thoughts on this team, I think they could be an underdog this year in the Big 12. Not saying they're going to win the Big 12 or something like that, but I think they're one of those teams that is an underdog and may get to a bowl game probably. But let's take a look at the schedule first, and here is that schedule for Texas Tech for 2022. It's not an easy schedule, to be honest with you guys. It is not an easy schedule here. The non-conference schedule is really tough. Houston out of the, American Conference, and then you get NC State on the road out of the ACC. But you get Murray State. That is the easy win there, and I think they do take care of business against Murray State here at home. I think it should be an easy win there. It should be like a 20-point-something win there for Texas Tech. They start off 1-0. Then they face Houston here on September 10th. Really interesting matchup here out of the American Conference. Houston was a great Group of 5 team last year. They were one of those second-best teams, I think, out of the Group of 5 teams last year. It doesn't really, get much better than this. It's a great matchup here. It's one of those 50-50 games, though. I'm saying it's one of those 50-50 games because of the way Texas Tech is at home. And also, with the 50-50 games, I like to go with the home field advantage. I think it's this one here, and I think Texas Tech will pull off the win. I think they do defeat Houston here at home. Not by a blowout, let's be honest. It will be a close game. I think it will be a shootout. It will go through the whole way, maybe in all 4 quarters. And I think at the end of the day, though, I think Texas Tech with them at home, I think it gives them the advantage in this one. And I think they do win this one here against Houston. NC State coming up next on the road here on September 17th. This is a tough matchup here for Texas Tech. NC State is a team that I'm really high on this year. I think they have a shot to maybe win the ACC championship this year as well. Maybe a college football playoff type team as well this year. But some people are not really expecting this NC State team to be all that good. Let me be honest. I think they are going to be really good. That offense is going to be really explosive. In this game, though, Texas Tech, I think they won't compete in. Maybe the first half they're close with them, but second half I think NC State does pull away. And I think Texas Tech does lose this one on the road at NC State. It's going to be a tough place to play as well, so they will lose their first game of the season, and that is to NC State on the road. Texas is coming up next here on September 24th, so they open up Big 12 play against Texas here at home. And like I said, this is going to be a closer matchup than it was last year. Last year was a complete blowout. I mean, I did not expect Texas to beat Texas Tech that badly. It wasn't even a close game at all, and, I think this game right here is a little bit closer than it was last year. Texas does have quite a bit coming back this year, not a whole lot coming back, but the question is, how good will they be? But, this game right here is one of those games that's an upset alert type game. And looking back at my Texas video, I did predict Texas Tech to win just because of the home field advantage. I think it's another 50-50 game here. I think it's going to be better, and I think Texas Tech does pull off the win. I'm picking Texas Tech to pull off an upset here against Texas here at home. I know it sounds crazy and all, but I think Texas Tech will be, starting to get better here. I think they'll be fired up, though. It's a revenge game here for Texas Tech. maybe not a revenge game, but I think it will be a game that can go either way. And I think Texas Tech does beat Texas this year. Next game is on the road at Kansas State. I do regret my Kansas State prediction a little bit. I'm not really high on this team, though. I'm not really, expecting them to be all that good. I think the schedule just really gets tougher for Kansas State, throughout the year. And I'm saying this game will be close. I'm saying it will be close. And I think it's one of those games. I also pick like some heavy underdog upsets as well. And I think it's one of these games right here. I think it's one of those games right here. Like I said in my Kansas State video, I did predict Texas Tech to win because I think Texas Tech is a heavily underdog in this one. And I got to pick a game right here that, some team will go on the road and defeat a Big 12 team. It will be a tough place to play, though, for Texas Tech, but I think they do defeat Kansas State here on the road. I'm picking an upset here as well. I know Kansas State fans won't be happy about that either, but I think Texas Tech is... I like Texas Tech in this game, and I think they'll be fired up after a win over Texas in this one. So I'm going to pick Texas Tech here to defeat Kansas State. Next game is on the road at Oklahoma State. So you get back-to-back road games that are in tough environments. Oklahoma State went to the Big 12 championship last year. My concern for Oklahoma State is the defense. The defense has lost a lot this year. This is a winnable game for Texas Tech. This is a winnable game if they can score some points in this one. But at the end of the day, it's a 50-50 game, and I also had to go with a home field advantage. I'm going to go ahead and pick Oklahoma State. I'm going to say Oklahoma State does win and give Texas Tech their second loss of the season. West Virginia coming up next on October 22nd. They get a bye week before playing this game, which really helps them out. You're gone off the back-to-back road games there, and you get a bye week now, and you're back at home finally with all the bumps and bruises in there. And I think Texas Tech, with them being at home here, West Virginia is going to be a good team. They're going to be a solid team. My concern for West Virginia, though, is that offense. The offense lost a lot last year, and I just think the West Virginia offense is going to kind of struggle a little bit, but I think they should be better by this time. But with it being at home in a 50-50 matchup, another 50-50 type game, I'm going to pick Texas Tech to win against West Virginia. I'm going to say they win it by maybe 10 points or somewhere in that range, but it will be a shootout. I think it will be a shootout in this one, and that improves Texas Tech's record to 5-2. They play Baylor next year on October 29th. This is a really good matchup here. Baylor was an interesting team last year. Baylor surprised a lot of people, but Baylor, how good will they be? That is the question. How good will Baylor be this season? Will they be the same team as last year? No, I think they will not be the same team as last year. They'll be a different team. This is another one of those 50-50 type matchups. I mean, it's one of those other 50-50 type games, but I like Baylor in this game. I think they do defeat Texas Tech. I think it is a close one. Maybe Baylor is ranked in the top 25, and Texas Tech is probably an underdog in this one. I'm saying it's another 50-50 type game, but I got to go with Baylor here. I just like Baylor's chances in this one as well, so I'm going to pick Baylor in this one. Next game is on the road at TCU. So now they get to the month of November now, and it's not all that bad of a schedule here in November. TCU, though, on the road is tough. Let's be honest. TCU is going to be a really good team this year. They have a lot coming back on both sides of the ball. The question is, how good will the defense be for TCU? Because they lost their defensive coordinator. I think they're still going to be really good, though. I think it's another one of those 50-50 type games, but with 50-50 type games, you got to go with the home team, and I'm going to go with TCU. And it's also a tough place to play. I really don't see Texas Tech winning this one. It would surprise me, though. It wouldn't surprise me, though, if Texas Tech did defeat TCU on the road. I mean, I wouldn't be really surprised at all, but I think they do lose to TCU here on the road. Next game is at home against Kansas. This is not going to be an easy game. I think it's one of those trap-type games for Texas Tech. Kansas has a lot coming back this year. I'm not saying Kansas is going to be terrible this year. They are going to have a lot of close games. I think they're going to be like that Nebraska team from last year, the best 3-9 team from the country last year. But the question is, Kansas, I still think they're way off of the Big 12 a little bit. I think this is an easy win here for Texas Tech. I'm not saying it's going to be a big blowout or something like that. I think Texas Tech will be close in this one, and I think Texas Tech does defeat Kansas, though, here at home. Next game on the road at Iowa State. I'm not really high on Iowa State this year. They're going to be a really young team. I'm not saying they're going to be terrible or something like that. I'm not really, saying they're going to be terrible, but I'm just not high on Iowa State this year. A lot of people are not high on them either, and I'm going to pick Texas Tech to go on the road and defeat Iowa State. So I think they do defeat Iowa State here on the road. And then they end things out with Oklahoma here at home on November 26th. This is going to be a matchup that can really determine, Oklahoma's chances of making the Big 12 championship. Let's be honest, Texas Tech could ruin that. But I think Oklahoma is a favorite in this one. I think, Texas Tech is a heavy underdog here in this one as well. But let's be honest, Oklahoma has still the talent to really, be able to compete in the Big 12. I don't think they're going to be all that terrible this year. I'm still high on this Oklahoma team. And I'm going to pick Oklahoma to win that one. I know it sounds a little bit, it is an upset alert type game, though. I think Texas Tech has what it takes to maybe pull off an upset, but I don't think it will happen a little bit. So I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think Texas Tech does lose that one. So the overall prediction for Texas Tech this year is 7-5, same record as last year. They go to a bowl game, but there are some potential losses on the schedule. I mean, Kansas State, of course, is a potential loss. This team can go 6-6. 8-4 is possible as well with a win over Baylor. I mean, I could see that happening. Then 9-3 is possible. So, but those games on the road at NC State and Oklahoma State, I really don't see those being wins. But Oklahoma State has potential. But Texas Tech 7-5 is my overall prediction for this team. And stay tuned here for more on Lucas Ross Sports.